tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Hi everyone, welcome to Dhamma Earth's Dose of Dhamma, and this is your dose of Dhamma for today. So we will go to the last two unsurpassed things, okay? So Buddha says, what is the next unsurpassed things? It is the unsurpassed service. So what is an unsurpassed service? It's not very common in the suttas, so let us see. So Buddha says, somebody serves a Khattiya, the warrior caste, a Brahmin, the Brahmin caste, a householder, or they serve various others, or they serve an ascetic or the Brahmin of wrong view and wrong practice. Buddha says there are these kinds of service. Yes, Buddha doesn't deny, but these kind of services are low and worldly and unbeneficial. Why? Because it does not lead to disenchantment, it does not lead to dispassion, peace, and enlightenment. Okay? But when one of a settled faith, of certain faith and devotion, decides to serve the Buddha or a disciple of the Buddha, then this unsurpassed service is for the purification of beings and overcoming of suffering, etc., and for the realization of Nibbana. This is called the unsurpassed service. So when we read about this in the sutta, and then we will reflect deeply, then we can understand, yes, when we serve others, there is joy also, and there is happiness. But if we serve the Buddha or the disciple of the Buddha, then because of this serving, we accumulate deserving power of the Dhamma. Why do I say that? Because according to the meditation menu, which is called the Visuddhimagga in Theravada Buddhism, so before one takes up a meditation subject, one has to give themselves to the teacher and devote themselves to the teacher, and to the teacher means the Buddha, and also their meditation teacher. Give themselves doesn't mean like blind faith, it is not like that. But giving themselves means listening and following the instructions, no matter how uncomfortable they are, and no matter how incompetent you are able to do it, or no matter how difficult it is. We try to follow and we try to train and develop ourselves so that we can ultimately reach the instructions. We are able to follow the instructions that the Buddha or the disciples of the Buddha taught, or your meditation teacher gave. It is very important. Why? Because when you do service to your teacher, let's compare it like if you have a son or a daughter, and if they are very good to you, they serve you. When you come back home, they come to you, give you a hug, and then they help you to remove your shoes, your socks, help give you some massage. Then when they need help, automatically you really, really feel like helping them, right? We really, really, like there's no obstacle in the mind when you want to help them, right? But if you have a son or a daughter that's very rebellious, always when you ask them to go left, they go right. When you ask them to go right, they go left. When you ask them to get skinny, they get fat. When you ask them to get fat, they get skinny. The kind of kid that is making life like the Navy SEAL Hell Week for you, except that the Navy SEAL have a Hell Week, but you have a Hell Years. Then ultimately when they need help, you feel very difficult. There's a lot of obstacle in the mind to help them. Isn't that so? So that's why if we provide service, if we do service to the Buddha or disciples of the Buddha, it is easier for us to be able to learn the Dhamma. It is easier for us to get close to these noble people and to learn from their behavior, to learn from their Dhamma talks, to learn from their experience in the Dhamma and in life. So that's why this service is very, very beneficial for us. Why? When we can get close to these noble persons, then because of their influence, because of learning from them more easily, then we are able to purify our mind more easily. We have more information. We can learn from higher wisdom. Then after that, it is easier for us to reach the ultimate goal of Nibbana. And that is why serving the Buddha or a disciple of the Buddha is an unsurpassed service. Why? Because it helps us with our purification and overcoming of suffering. When we have defilements, then we go to noble persons and ask them, how do I get rid of this suffering? And then they will counsel you according to the Dharma, right? And then after they counsel you, you can let go of your suffering. Isn't that so? That is why, no? And then ultimately, because of learning from them and practicing under them, then ultimately one will be able to realize the bliss of Nibbana. And so that is why this is the unsurpassed service. Okay? Now we go to the last one. The last one is unsurpassed recollection. So what did the Buddha say? Buddha say here, somebody recollects the gain of a son, the gain of a wife, the gain of a wealth. They recollect, that means, they think about it. They recollect various kinds of gains, or they recollect an ascetic or a Brahmin of wrong view and wrong practice. So again, Buddha say there are these kinds of recollection. Buddha does not deny. But these kind of recollections, they are low, they are worldly, ignoble, and unbeneficial. Why? Because it doesn't lead to disenchantment, dispassion, peace, and enlightenment. But when one, with faith and devotion, decides to recollect the Buddha or a disciple of the Buddha, then this unsurpassed recollection is for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of suffering, and for the achievement of the practice and for the realization of Nibbana. This is called the unsurpassed recollection. And why is this so when we reflect deeply? When we reflect upon the qualities of the Buddha, or reflect upon the qualities of the disciples of the Buddha, this gives us a lot of faith, especially when one practices the recollection of the Buddha. This gives us a lot of faith in the practice. What does it give faith in the practice? Actually, it gives us hope. What kind of hope? The hope of being able to be finally free from suffering of the mind once and for all. Why? Because in order to attain Buddhahood, the Buddha spent so many lives practicing the Bodhisattva path, which is the path to Buddhahood. It's not one life, it's not two lives, it's many lives. So according to Theravada calculations of some academics, you have to 4 times 1 times 10 to the power of 140 plus 100,000 eons, human years. So can you imagine how many lives the Bodhisattvas have to go through to accumulate paramis, to continue the practice? For how many lives? Then ultimately they attain the Buddhahood. So if a person, if a being can go through all that training and ultimately be able to realize the Four Noble Truths and make an end of suffering, then definitely we can. There's hope for us. We can. We are able to make an end of suffering one day. It may be in this life. It may be in future lives, but as long as we continue to purify our mind, as long as we continue to practice, as long as we continue to make the right aspirations, then definitely one day we will be able to totally purify the mind until there's no more defilements. Right? So when we understand like this, then we can understand, no wonder Buddha say the recollection of the Buddha or disciple of the Buddha is the unsurpassed recollection. Think about it. If you think about your son, think about gaining a son, gaining a wife, or wealth, or any other properties. Yes, you may be happy, but if anything changes, and we have attachment to this, to our wives, sons, and properties, then we will suffer, isn't that so? That's why it is unbeneficial. That's why it doesn't lead to disenchantment and dispassion and peace. But if we recollect the Buddha and the disciples of the Buddha and recollect the qualities, then because of recollecting, it gives us hope, and actually the recollection of the Buddha qualities can help us to attain a certain state of tranquility of the mind, and with this tranquility of the mind, we can even practice vipassana. We can practice to discern the ultimate truth of life with this kind of concentration, with this kind of a tranquility mind. So when we think like this, when we reflect like this, when we observe like this, yes, there's a difference in the recollection, right? So no wonder Buddha say that is an unsurpassed recollection. So we have covered the 6 unsurpassed things that one can obtain when one lives in a suitable place. The 6 are the unsurpassed sight, hearing, gain, training, service, and recollection. So hopefully everyone will try to find a suitable place to stay. A suitable place is a place where one can get in touch with the Dharma, a disciple of the Buddha, and have good spiritual friends, and access to Buddha's teachings, and be able to have a suitable environment to practice the Dhamma. Then hopefully this will inspire all of you to be able to find and all be able to reside in a suitable place. And hopefully all of you will be able to obtain the 6 unsurpassed things. And wish all of you to be well, peaceful and happy. And may the Triple Gem bless all of you to attain path, fruition and Nibbana. And really, really be able to experience the ultimate happiness that the Buddha says. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.